Anyways, I'm back to doing more normal content, but I'm gonna do more stuff out of respect for Charlie Kirk currently. And his tragic death, man, it all sucks that this had to happen. Charlie, thank you for everything. Thank you for all the memories. And thank you for teaching me everything from the other side when I was younger. Your memory will live on through me and many others. But as the as his death showed, we will not be silenced. We will not be scared. We will not be stopped from telling people our opinions because these people celebrated his death and want us to be silent. That's the problem. They don't care if we agree with whose politics. They just want us to be silent. They want us to do everything they say and they want us to never disagree with them. But anyways, let's get into this. We will not stay silent. I put that flag up there because of Charlie Kirk. Let's do it.
Well, let's head to the US now and get the latest on the murder of Charlie Kirk and the ongoing investigation. Joining us is host of Brad versus Everyone podcast, Brad Palumbo. Brad, thanks for coming on the program. You wrote an interesting piece in the Washington Examiner this week, saying, amongst other things, and I'm quoting you here, the justification being put forward to defend Charlie Kirk's murder isn't just outrageous, insensitive, and grotesque in its own right. If widely adopted, the underlying sentiment that words are violence could quite literally destroy the fabric of our civilization and eventually result in civil war. I absolutely concur, but I wanted to ask you this. Why is the left so afraid of disagreement and debate?
The reason they are is because they can't compete. They've become so far left that even people who never moved from the left, they see them as radicals now. They see them as Republicans now. They see them as Trump supporters, Nazis, and all that. That's what happened. The left gone so far left, and nobody has put a check on them. Nobody bothered. People kept rallying them up, kept telling them they were correct, kept giving them echo chambers and places to be protected from different opinions. Therefore, all it was a giant circle jerk of all their ideology together. Then the moment you put them up with someone who can actually debate them, destroy their ideals easily, and tell people the truth, they're scared because they never ever were put in a situation where they had to defend their values and their views. Let's get into this.
Because they know that many of their ideas will lose, because many of their ideas are fringe and unpopular. And that's why they have to try to reframe some of the things the far left, in particular, the online left in America, is reframing disagreement itself as violence to justify. Oh, Charlie Kirk's words were violent to immigrants, violent to LGBT people, whatever they want to say. None of it's true. He never actually advocated for violence against anyone. That
the worst part about this, too, is when you talk about immigrants and LGBT people, they loved him. They also loved him. It's not that they agreed with every value he had, it's that he gave them simple human decency to not treat them like garbage whenever they're talking with him. He gave them respect, he gave them a place to talk their ideals, and a lot of them even found common ground. And they took him away not only from the American people, but from them as well. I'm tired of these losers using arguments like immigrants, LGBT, whatever. Because all they're doing is putting everyone else in this bubble that, hey, you agree with everything I say because if you don't, we're going to kick you out of that social group and your racial identity ourselves because we dictate exactly what you are. You don't do it yourself. You're not born black. You're not born black if we decide your views aren't aligned with us. You're not going to be part of the black community anymore. Things like that. That's what they do to people. They strip them away from their identities, their ethnicity, their even their own skin color, all because they disagree with what they say.
That's a total lie. They're just framing his disagreement as some form of act of aggression. And that's a short path to outright civil war and bloodshed in the streets. It's an anti-civilization and anti-human ideology. It's really, I think, And the first and most tragic outcome of this is, of course, the loss to his family and friends
Mm-hmm.
and children. But the second biggest issue with all of this is the really insane portion of our public that's been revealed by this.
Yeah.
Well, I've
And remember, these people had years and years and years to have their behavior corrected and fixed. None of the leaders of the party did. They never cared. They never bothered to fix it. And the moment that these people show everybody exactly who they are, then you're supposed to be like, oh, actually, these guys aren't radicals. There's like 60,000 videos and comments of people celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. And they're all being saved and put up in an archive. All because these people were trying to tell you this is a small group of evil people. No, this is basically your entire party base happily celebrating it. Because 60,000 is not a minority. 60,000 is probably what the majority of people think like on your side. And it's disgusting. Hell, even Dean Withers got attacked by his own fan base for crying and feeling bad for Charlie Kirk. By his own fan base for that. Then what did they say? They said, oh, maybe on our side, but a white male is still a white male.
I was baffled by Democrat Representative Jasmine Crockett. She said that calling Trump Hitler, for example, doesn't necessarily mean killing him, but I think that words matter. Have a listen to what she said.
We've got to talk about like what it means when you're running for president or you're running for one of these higher offices and you go out there and you talk about beating people up. You go out there and you say things like, I could shoot somebody in the middle of the street in New York and I could still win. We got to talk about like that. That is next level.
And the thing is, he stopped comments like that a long time ago. You guys never did. You guys always continued. Continued. Hell, not only that, you got a fucking Diddy poster right here. I don't even want to know what your opinion is. That's disgusting.
Disagreeing with you, me calling you, I want to be Hitler. All those things are like not necessarily saying go out and hurt somebody.
Brad, this is exactly how Charlie Kirk was killed. Words matter.
Words do matter, and it's just incoherent and bizarre to, on one side of your mouth, call Trump Timu Hitler or wannabe Hitler, which is what Jasmine Crockett and other Democrats have said over and over again. But then out of the other side of your mouth, say political violence is always wrong. I don't want anyone hurt. I appreciate the latter sentiment, but it's kind of belied by the former if you actually mean it, because
it's always the same story. They use this rhetoric. One person on their side kills a girl on the train. They pretend like the news doesn't exist. One person on their side shoots Charlie Kirk. They blame it on the Republicans, even though he was a leftist, the only leftist in his conservative family, put hey fascist on a bullet, had people putting fake teachers on him saying, oh, he was actually a Trump-loving Republican, which doesn't even fucking make sense. They did all this stuff. And they're like, oh, we're actually peaceful. We're actually not bad. Like, no, you are the worst. Your people literally have emotional breakdowns the moment the smallest fraction of their ideology gets challenged. Because they can't think for themselves. They were taught all their lives to think of an ideology rather than the truth. And because of that, they're brain-dead zombies who spew out the same rhetoric over and over again.
Most people think that Hitler assassinating would be justified, right? Like that violence to stop a madman who's going to kill millions of people would be justified. So when you are constantly comparing Trump or other Republicans to Hitler, fascists, Nazis, this is the same, I think when some people on the right call Democrats traitorous scum or overwrought rhetoric in that all of it needs to be taken down, this temperature and this condemnation, because most of it is not actually fully warranted, and it could inspire some madman. Even if you say out of the other side of your mouth, but no violence, it could inspire someone. So we should all just knock this off.
Authorities, of course, have in custody the alleged shooter. Utah's governor has said the state will pursue the death penalty against Tyler Robinson.
100%
He,
agree.
of course, is the major suspect. But Donald Trump has already said he hopes that this guy gets the death penalty if convicted. What's the deal with the death penalty in the US? How hard is it to pursue?
It's very hard because it barely ever happens anymore. And because people are overly emotional, they're like, "Oh, the death penalty is bad." No, we have to make an example out of him to show people that, hey, this is wrong. What you did was terrible. And I fully support Utah getting that exact penalty.
And in your view, should Tyler Robinson get the death penalty if convicted?
Well, it's quite difficult to pursue the death penalty in the US, but in this case, it's still an option. Both Utah has the death penalty and actually is one of the only states that still has the option for death penalty by firing squad.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, the federal government also still has the option to pursue death penalty cases where they to charge him with federal crimes like terrorism or other things.
Yep.
And I am somebody generally kind of concerned about the death penalty. Generally, it's not something I believe in, but this is a case where I think if we have the death penalty, let's use it.
Yep.
Let's send a message that this is not what we accept as a society, and that if you do that, honestly, I wouldn't be against the firing squad. I think it's that important to send a message that we cannot tolerate political terrorism and political violence, and that America is a country where we absolutely abhor people who would use violence against people who simply use their words.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree. We have to send a really strong message, totally. Brad, the suspect was living with his trans partner who was in the process of transitioning from a man to a woman. Violence from the trans community and their supporters against anyone who disagrees is now a worrying trend. How much attention is this getting?
The last guy who shot up a school was transgender. This guy was transgender. Hell, pretty much the majority of mass shooters recently have all been transgenders. And the media does not want you to see this side because why are these guys so abnormally violent compared to so many other different people of political ideologies that the same result keeps happening? If it happens once, it's a coincidence. If it happens twice, maybe it's just bad luck. But if it happens by the time 20, 30 different times, there is a problem and you have to look into it. You can't just continuously ignore it and pretend there's some protected group that needs protection and shielding all day long when they keep spilling blood and murdering people.
Well, it's getting a lot of attention based on this big preliminary report from Fox News. And I think two things can be true at the same time. One is that there is a scary and militant wing of the transgender movement, at least in the US. I've personally been threatened and harassed for daring to say that kids shouldn't get sex changes and other such heinous statements. And two, based on the reporting we have so far, though, it doesn't actually appear that this individual has done anything wrong. They're cooperating with police, and as far as we know right now, had no knowledge ahead of time of this crime. So I think we should hold space for that because not, some people are leaping to conclusions about this that I think are getting ahead of the facts and demonizing all people who identify as trans. I think we've got to be cautious in a breaking story like this.
Yeah, good call. Brad Palumbo, appreciate your time tonight. Thanks so much.
Yep. Fully agree, but yeah, we'll see. And he has to be made an example out of. This is intolerable. It keeps happening. It keeps happening again, and it's all political. And the majority of the time, it's political. But damn, guys, just fuck.